What's up, y'all? Sparty here. I want to do my 7 month in review of the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. Now, I just realized that I haven't done the video on this yet. And since it's typical for me to do this kind of thing for phones that I've had for a while, I just decided that I would do it now. Now, typically I would do it within the 6 month period, but as I just said, I forgot, and last month was pretty hectic for me, so I just honestly forgot, like I said. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, I've had this since a week before it launched, and at that point, at this point in time, where it launched, it was basically $930 plus tax, which is like $50, $60. It adds up to like 980, 990 or some shit like that. So basically almost $1,000. I'm soon gonna pay this off so that I don't have to give it up for the Note 9 because I'm not going to the S9, which I will further detail in this review here. Um, so the Note 8. I enjoy this phone a lot, and there are reasons why I enjoy it quite a bit. Now, it's not my favorite phone of last year. That obviously goes to the V30. But that's not to say that this phone is terrible, that this phone is horrendous or anything like that. When I don't know what sparks people to be all like, "Oh, you don't like the Note 8 as much as the V30. You're just an LG fanboy." No, there are specific reasons why I prefer the V30 over the Note 8. But for some reason, people just think, "Oh, because I've always tended to like LG phones better, even though I like the V20 and the Note 5 equally. I like the V10 and the Note 5 equally. Apparently, I'm an LG fanboy because I just prefer the V30 over this, ever so slightly. But I'm a detail the likes, dislikes, everything that is right and wrong with this phone at the moment. And I guess I'll just start off with the bad stuff. There is screen burn-in on my Note 8's display. Now, it is very minimal. It's something you can't necessarily see that is like, you can't see with the current like backgrounds I have on my phone right now, which obviously have dark backdrops. But say I go into some app that has a gray background or something, right? Let me blow this up here real quick. As I said, you guys probably won't be able to see it, but take my word for it, it's definitely there. Now, it's on my V30 as well. It's not just my Note 8, but keep in mind when you go with a phone that has OLED, this is something that's bound to happen, especially if you like to have your screen on max brightness all the time, like I do. That's something that I just wanted to get off my chest. That is there, and it's whatever. It doesn't bother me that much because I don't see it all the time. That's something that a lot of people are like, "Oh, you just screen burning." I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't see it every day, so it doesn't really matter to me. And if I do see it, I'm like, oh yeah, right. But again, for a nearly $1,000 phone, I would expect better displays out of Samsung, especially Samsung, since they lead the mobile OLED market, right? Next, battery life. Battery life is fine. Now, when I first got the phone, battery life was teetering from good to really good. Now it's just fine. I get maybe 4 hours of screen on time, and compared to my V30, that's like an hour less. My V30 gets like one more, maybe like sometimes even 2 more hours of screen on time sometimes. But I don't ever really use screen on time as a measurement of how I benchmark my battery life. I do that off of just sheer Bluetooth streaming, and this can go throughout 5, 6 hours of continuous Bluetooth podcast streaming, no problem. And that's something that a lot of people seem to do more nowadays. So that's something that I am definitely bringing up as something that I do personally. And that is something I'm rambling. It's just something that people also do that I do. So I just wanted to bring that up. I'm not constantly just looking when I'm watching. If I'm watching content, I tend to watch it on my V30 more. That's because of the simple fact that I just like the screen better and the speaker is louder. Another thing, there's something going on with. I heard it like a while back that some Note 8s won't fast charge. And my Note 8 has fell victim to that, where when I'm plugging it in, it'll say, oh, charging. And it'll give you the amount of time that it'll take to charge. And it would be like 12 hours and something minutes or some stuff like that. Now, sometimes I have to replug it in, switch around the USB-C port, replug it in and stuff like that. And sometimes it'll just say charging and not fast charging, but it'll be 1 hour and something minutes. So I just say whatever, I'm going to just stick with that. And I don't know what it is these past couple years with Samsung and batteries or whatever, or the last couple years before this year, 2016 and 17. But they really need to step their game up, because this is unacceptable. How is this phone almost $1,000? But what happens is, and I'm not saying this happens with every single Note 8. It's happened with some, and it obviously happened with mine. Otherwise, I wouldn't have talked about it, right? It doesn't fast charge. It doesn't fast charge as, consistently as it did. And that's a problem. Not even a year in, there's already issues with it fast charging. That doesn't make sense. And that's something that I hope they address soon. Their dual camera setup. Their main camera is very good. I like it a lot. It's something that is good. I wouldn't say it's the best. A lot of people say it's the best all-around camera. I will agree with it's the best all-around camera, but it's definitely not the best for me personally. I like a lot of customization, and I like what LG's done with wide angle. What other lower tier companies have adopted that too. Like Motorola has also done the telephoto thing. No, they've done the monochrome thing, and they've done the wide angle. Like, there are more companies going with the wide angle, but it's more common with the higher ups to go with the telephoto zoom lens, Apple and Samsung. And I don't blame them. I think it's fine to do this depth of field stuff that they want to do, but it's just something that doesn't impress me. It's not something that, you just blur in the back with software and I could still see the edges where you didn't get it quite right. Okay. But other than that, the cameras are great. The secondary camera, not so much. It's a bit softer on the image, but that's something that, happens, I guess. The fingerprint sensor, a lot of people say the fingerprint sensor is trash. For me, it teeters from good to bad. And that's something, and it's not the placement. It's not the placement that gets me off. It's just simply because I obviously have big hands. So that's not something that's going to bother me so much as this phone, it for some reason, if my hand is a certain temperature or something, it just won't read my finger. Whereas my V30, which might be because it's mil standard A10G compliant, it'll read my finger it'll read my finger whether or not my hand is very hot or cold or whatever. Sweat, water, whatever, sure, I get that because it's moist. But when it's too hot, it just won't read my finger at all. Or too cold, it won't read my finger. Because obviously winter is away now pretty much in Minnesota, even though it's still pretty damn cold out. And I'd have issues messing with the fingerprint sensor. And I do have the iris sensor on and all that stuff, so you don't have to tell me about that. It's just more that it's more convenient for me to just be able to press my finger on the fingerprint sensor and just, get into the phone. And I can't always do that on a consistent basis. And that's pretty much it. My last dislike is always going to be the construction of the phone. Now, this is any glass constructed phone. It's not just the Note 8, not just the V30, not just every other phone on the market now, pretty much. It's everything. Phones are getting boring now, and that's something that is very hard to just, say, because I like doing this a lot. But when you look at something like the Note 8 and the V30, sure, when you look at them, they don't look the same close up, right? But from afar, a phone looks like a phone. So people are like, oh, especially if you have a V30 in this color, right? Like, oh, is that the new iPhone? Is that the iPhone 10? Stuff like that. And it's just like, I miss the days where we would have, a phone that looked different. Now every phone looks the same and it's just getting boring. And that's my problem with the S9 and the S9 Plus as well. And I'll get to that later, as I said. But my likes now are, despite the fact that the qualms with my display is the simple fact that it's OLED, it's still a very good, beautiful panel. I will give Samsung that. They make high quality, for the most part, good looking panels. And that's something that they excel at. I wouldn't say it's better than the V30, even though a lot of people say it is. I will always say they're on par because, quite frankly, to me they are. But the one thing about the display that is, I wish Samsung would stop, is the edge display shit. I just hate it. I despise it. The edge detection is the palm rejection is so off. It's just something that they just need to stop, or they need to get right. And that's just something that I wish they would do pronto. I like the fact that this phone is IP68 water and dust resistant. It's very nice for it to happen. For it to have that. Mil standard A10G would be very nice, but since the case I have, the official Samsung Note 8 case I got, is mil standard A10G compliant, that's fine. But, that's whatever. More colors. More colors is something I would like too. I'm tired of the same blue, silver, gray, gold. I'm tired of all that. Do something more interesting with your phones. I tend to go black because, honestly, I just like a blacked out phone. But I wouldn't mind getting a fucking violet purple phone or a deep red phone or something like that from like HTC and stuff like that, right? Samsung doesn't do that, and if they do, it's a limited edition phone, and I just don't, or it's limited to Korea or something like that, right? And that's something that they just need to stop. Every company needs to stop doing that. Let me get into what Now there are way more things I like about the phone, but since I've detailed a lot of those in my previous reviews, I'm not gonna touch on them. It's pretty much the same. I love the S Pen. That's mainly the reason why I'm sticking with Note and not going to the S9 Plus, even though it has a bigger battery and stuff like that. I want to detail why I'm not going to the S9 Plus, S9 Plus in particular. Now, when the Note 8 came out, people were like, oh, it's just an S8 Plus with an S Pen, right? But in my opinion, I saw the S8 Plus as, oh, it's just gonna be the Note 8 without the S Pen, even though it came out before. But it's just gonna be the building blocks of what the Note 8 will be without the S Pen. That's all it was. Now, obviously, the Note 8 has some lower specs, namely the battery. That's really the only thing. It has more RAM and stuff like that, and a slightly taller display. But the main thing that I think the Note line in general, is still Samsung's best, is that they just pack so much into it and they do so much innovative stuff. They save their innovations mainly for the Note line. Now, other than the variable aperture and stuff like that that's on the S9, S9 Plus, which I do like a lot, but I just don't see that as being worthy of me being like, you know what, I'm gonna get that now. There's just something about the Note 8 that was like, you know what, whatever. And just made me stick with it and makes me want to pay it off and keep it for a little bit longer until the Note 9 comes out. The Note series will always be my favorite Samsung line. There's no doubt about that. And I don't know why I had that long pause there. And there's something always off when I get a Galaxy S series phone. It's not the S Pen, but the software seems to be way undercooked when I get that. And plus, there's this thing where apparently there's like dead spots in the display or something on the S9 Plus with certain units. You know, Samsung Galaxy S9, the best display that you could barely use. But I'm just joking when it comes to stuff like that. But there's obviously stuff like that, reports that I obviously just stated that are there. But when it comes to something like the overall phone, I just don't care enough. I don't care enough about the S9 and S9 Plus. Sure, it has the variable aperture. Sure, it has, finally has stereo speakers. Sure, all this extra stuff. But it doesn't have stuff that I care for. It doesn't have a hi-fi DAC to at least be comparable enough for me to be like, okay, I can alternate between my Samsung phone and my LG phone when it comes to, music, corded music. There's just not enough for me there, and I think that's my main problem. With the Note, I just feel it's the better fit for me, and that's really pretty much it. Now, with software, the Note 8 still has issues. It still stutters. It still has frame drops. It still lags a bit. It's that typical Samsung jank, like that typical Bethesda jank you get with their games, right? It's the same thing. And to say that Samsung phones are the Bethesda are basic. Samsung's the Bethesda of mobile, of smartphones, basically. People root them and put custom ROMs on them and they run fine, right? Whereas run them stock, it's pretty much, you'll eventually run into those problems later on. And that's not every, third-party launcher Android phone. My V30 doesn't have problems really with that. Hell, my V20 doesn't either. Hell, my low-end Sony phone doesn't really either. So it's not just me shitting on Samsung is me just saying, oh, it's not just it's pretty much just them that still needs to get their shit together when it comes to optimization. Still, despite the fact that they've leaned it out and stuff like that. But other than that, that doesn't make me say that I want to give up my Note 8. If you want it to run faster, you could always go in the smart cleaning, the device maintenance, and it'll definitely just, clean your stuff up and make it easier for you to be like, okay, your stuff is at 93 out of 100 or something like that. You press the optimize now, and it'll kill everything in the background for you. You click done, and your stuff is back to being at an optimal, running optimally, right? And that's totally fine with me. I like that. It's something that is very good. But as far as that goes, it's pretty much it for this video. I don't want to make this like 25 minutes long or anything like that. 7 months later, I still enjoy the phone. I still think there's some things Samsung need to work out. And obviously with the S9, S9 Plus, with certain issues happening, they still need stuff to work out. And I don't understand it. Please don't, in the comments, be all like, well, my S9 doesn't do this, my Note 8 doesn't do that. I'm not talking about what you're going through. I'm talking about what I'm going through. What I'm going through is basically just, it'll fast charge sometimes. And that's totally fine because now I just get used to just throwing it on the wireless charger and it's a done deal. But yeah, like I said, that's it. This is Sparta. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for the support. If you liked this video, hit the like button. If you disliked it, you know what to do. Hit that dislike button. Share this video with anyone that's interested in the Note 8 after a certain amount of time, 7 months or whatever. I will do my 12-month review of this phone when I get to that point. And I will tell you guys how I feel about this phone. Obviously. Yeah, this is Sparta. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for support. Hope you guys have a wonderful Friday or whatever time or day it is in your area. Have a good one.